Hey YouTube, it is July 26th and I am headed over to AOAA. You can see Grace in the background. And we are going to go do the Blue Guided Ride with Off-Road Consulting. And yeah, I said I and we. She's going to maybe meet me out there, maybe head home, I'm not really sure. But she's up here also with her Jeep. And so, you know, enjoy the footage. We'll see you guys shortly.
This is our seasonal campground that we're leaving. And they have a pool and like there's a river for rafting here and everything. And we have full hookups, so that's why we always stay here rather than at Trailhead. Some people have asked me that before. So anyway, so this is basically the entrance to AOAA, in case you have never seen it before. That's to the west side there, that gate that I just passed. And this is the actual like entrance to the park. The right, that picnic area there, that's where we're gonna meet at. The left is a Trailhead campground. I have a review for that campground too. They don't have full hookups down there, so that's why we don't stay there, and they don't have a pool and all the other kind of nice amenities. But if you're just coming up for the weekend, like that's probably a great place to go. Hey YouTube, we are out here with Off-Road Consulting at AOAA Blue Guided Ride. It's a monthly ride that AOAA does. The Blue Level 1, there are 12 Jeeps in our group, or there will be if there's not exactly 12. That's our guide right there. And then here are the two lines that are lining up behind the Jeep, and obviously that's my Jeep. And there is like the empty parking lot behind me if you don't know AOAA. And then there's like a food pavilion here. And so we are going to head out at some point. But I'm going to do a little quick walk around, let you see the Jeeps, and you can look around, kind of see if you see a Jeep that looks kind of like yours, maybe it will help you understand whether or not you think you can do blues here or not. So anyway, we'll see. Have fun. So all these Jeeps are here for the Blue Guided Ride by the park that's hosted by Off-Road Consulting. I've had people ask me, what does blue mean or what does green mean? That is the difficulty of the trail rating or whatever. So typically on a scale of like 1 to 10, 1, 2, 3 would be green, 4, 5, 6 would be blue, 7, 8, 9 would be black, and then 10 would be reserved for red. And even though those are numbers, like it's sometimes difficult for somebody to differentiate, like, well, what do those numbers actually mean? So like a 1, 2, or 3 means you're driving over essentially like golf balls or maybe softballs. And you can see the wheels are so big, like that kind of isn't really that challenging to drive over softballs. I mean, a little bit larger than say a gravel road. Then the blues are where it starts to get interesting to me. And blues typically mean that there are obstacles that you cannot get around that are like close to say basketball size. So you have to actually use steering and stuff to not like hit these like kind of basketball or larger than basketball size obstacles. And that's where the variation comes, like between say a 4 and a 6, because those are both blues, but the 6 is like obviously harder. Then when you get to the next size, when you get to blacks, that's when the obstacles typically, at least at AOAA, are closer to the size of your wheel or your fender. They're at least the height of your bumper, let's say, so you have to position yourself so you straddle them and stuff. And then the reds are pretty ridiculous. They probably have obstacles that are maybe the size of your hood to maybe the size of your entire Jeep. And the reds at AOAA are really meant to just be for buggies. They're not actually meant for Jeeps. I know at other parks, like if you compare this to say to Roush, the colors don't match up. No, the colors do not match up, I'm sorry. But that grading that I kind of gave you, like softball for one size and basketball for the next size, and then larger than basketball is kind of like pretty standard. So I try to kind of guess at the numbers. This is what I consider like an easy blue, even though it's marked blue, only you can see the blue there, 5A. I would consider this to be a very easy. Now you can see that there was one rock there that I had to kind of go around. It was the size of a basketball, but there were not a lot of them. So this is marginally like a blue. Maybe this is close to a green, because just looking down the trail you can see all this stuff is softball size or smaller. So like this area is definitely green. And yeah, there was a little basketball there, but you didn't really have to go over it. Now see, there's right there, those two right there that I had to go over. Those are probably basketball size, so that's probably what makes this trail blue, because you had to go over those. There's no way to around it. And obviously that's only like one obstacle, like, right? Like, so I can't complain too much. But you'll see that later on in the footage, or later on like in other videos when we're doing the blues here, there are blues that are much harder, and that's why some of them, you know, like I would rate it like a 5 or a 6, let's say. But these are the washouts that are blues, and they're by far the easiest blues, and probably in the entire park. This right here that we're turning on to, it might be a green, I'm not really sure. I didn't really pay super close attention to which one of these washouts is marked blue and which one is marked green. But there are variations. So I do find it interesting that we are doing these at the beginning of the ride. We're not doing them at the end of the ride. Like traditionally, a lot of times what you'll see is people go to like the farthest part of the park, like that they can go to right at the beginning, and then they will work their way back. And typically they use these blue washouts that are like right next to the parking lot as kind of like filler to fill like the last 30 minutes or last hour of the ride. So in comparison to like Virginia trails, a lot of the stuff that you're seeing on the blue washouts is probably similar to like the Union Springs side of Flagpole Knob, or similar to like say Dictum or Second Mountain, a lot of the like easier trails. And yeah, those are kind of like rated as greens. But I was very specifically targeting certain areas. We will be getting into harder content pretty quickly, into some like blues are more legit. Now you can see here the steering is required. Look how close these trees are and how big the Gladiator is. Like we're having to like scoop them up between these trees. This is much more like AOAA, like the normal AOAA where you're having to do like these 3-point turns and you're having to fit yourself between all this. And yeah, I'm right behind the guy because I'm like the low rider / long boat of the group, being in a Gladiator. So I'm going to do the videos a little bit differently this time, just by looking at the footage, the way it kind of worked out. There were a handful of sections of the day that were really interesting, and then like large sections of the day that didn't really feel like they fit in with the other ones. So a lot of the stuff that I release like for the next few days or whatever, next week or whatever, however long it takes to get all these videos edited and published and everything, are going to be kind of like the best of the ride. They're not going to necessarily be like the entire ride. I know a lot of times I'll try to do the whole ride, but then I'll just speed up sections of it. I'm not going to do that this time. It's like literally I'm just going to put the title of the trail like on the thumbnail or whatever, and then you'll know that that's the trail that we did. And yeah, this one is blue washouts because there's a lot of little blue washouts that we were doing. So where he is turning right now, or where we are turning right now, is the most interesting part of probably the entire video. And 4A is a little hidden gem that's in the middle of the washouts. And the 4A will show you the difference between like the difficulty in blues. Because the stuff that you saw before is probably, oh, that's easy peasy stuff. And this isn't terribly hard either, but you can immediately see that like basically everything in front of me is like basketballs. You know, like this is like just driving over like 50 basketballs. And so for the most part, I mean, if you're new to driving or new to all this, like they have classes and stuff you can do, but if you just want me to tell you on YouTube so you don't have to like take a class or whatever, take a class. But anyway, so if you just want to hear me kind of give you some advice, you look for the biggest obstacle that you can find, you put your tire on it. Like that's like 90% of what you do. Essentially you're making these little V's, and the V is in the center of the vehicle, and then the tires are on like the biggest obstacle you can find, and that will lift the vehicle off the ground so you don't hit things. And if you put your tires in the ruts and make like upside down V's, you're going to be stuck all day. So you want to make V's. And the last part of the trail, like right here where we are, is actually the hardest spot on the entire trail. The rest of the trail, like I said, it was just driving over these big basketballs and a little bit of steering, where this is just a little bit of just getting the right kind of line. I think he went to the right there. I didn't like the line of going to the right, so I decided to do this like 3-point madness.
Hey YouTube, so we just did Trail 4. It is a twisty blue trail that's like right around the washouts. It's the nastiest one out of all the washouts, but it's kind of cool. The end is like the hardest spot on it, so please enjoy. We'll see you guys.
So we're back in the easier content for the blues. So we're gonna finish out a couple of these like little blue washouts, and then there will be some shots of the people that were on the ride and their rigs and stuff, so you can see the Jeeps that went out here. And like, so like, what do we have on our Gladiator at this time, if anybody was wondering? So we have the 2-inch lift kit from Mopar on our Gladiator, and we have a Rubicon, and we have armor. So we have all the rock hard armor on the bottom of our Jeep. But the armor makes it so we have less clearance. The 2-inch lift obviously helps, and that's it. Like everything else is you know, like what came with the Jeep. I mean, we added a brake controller, that doesn't really matter. We added a CB so we can communicate, and a GMRS radio. We have a ham radio. But for like monster truck stuff, like the only thing that really is assisting us is that we're a Rubicon, and that we have the lift kit and the armor. So here we are, there's Grace right there, our Corgi, the namesake of our channel, who pretty much goes everywhere with me. And then Kimberly, obviously. And then these are the guys that are behind me, and a lot of these Jeeps you can see are really like pimped out.